Hey everyone, it's Zach back with a new mortgage video. Hope you're all having a happy Tuesday. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, welcome to my channel where I'll try to demystify all things mortgage related. If you find this content helpful, like and subscribe. So today I wanted to talk about a pretty cool loan product that I've recently gained access to, and that is a buy before you sell loan. So who does this apply to? This would be for someone who currently owns a property and is trying to buy a new property, but also wants to sell their current property. But normally you will have to have what's called a contingent offer in this situation, unless you can absorb a second mortgage payment on your debt to income ratio, which most people cannot. You're talking, thousands of dollars in a monthly debt. Then what's a contingent offer, the way that would work is where you have to sell your current property before you can close on your new one. That puts a lot of stress on a seller because you're dealing with a buyer that most of the time is going to need to qualify for a mortgage. That's a long process. They may end up not. Ideally, you have a cash buyer, but that's not majority of the time going to be happening. So if you want to avoid the stress of that type of situation, this is kind of an ideal program. So the way it works is this investor will look at your property that you're trying to sell, and they will determine how much it's worth. They'll also make sure that there's no major repairs that are necessary. They may disqualify it based on that. But assuming it's ready to sell, they'll decide what it's worth, and then they will lend you up to 75% of the difference between what they think it's worth and what you owe on your current mortgage. So for example, let's say you have a property that the investor determines is worth $500,000 and you owe $300,000. You can borrow up to $150,000, 75% of that $200,000 spread, and you can use that for the down payment on a future property before you sell that current property. Now, this works for a conventional loan and a jumbo loan ideally, because for both of those programs, you can exclude that monthly mortgage payment as you're buying this property, even before your selling property has sold. You can do it also with an FHA loan or a VA loan, but it does not exclude that debt. And because of that, it's not as impactful, I would say. It's similar to just doing a non-contingent offer where you're just buying the property without selling. The only difference is you can tap into the equity, but it strips out the buying power aspect that you have with conventional or jumbo by excluding that debt. Now, the cost of this program is 2.4% of the eventual sales price. It's a flat fee. There's no interest accrued. But in the example I gave earlier, if you do end up selling for $500,000, you would subtract $12,000, 2.4% of $500,000 from the proceeds of the eventual sale of the property. Now, it's worth noting that if you use this program, you end up buying your new primary residence and the property that you're trying to sell sits for over 90 days, the investor will buy the property for what they have determined it's worth, and they will continue to try to sell it themselves. They can work with the listing agent. That has been a question I've been asked for similar type of programs. And whatever the difference is between what they sell it for and what they thought it was worth, if it's a positive, like let's say, again, going back to this example, they sell it for $520,000 when they thought it was worth $500. You as the seller will keep that $20,000 difference minus any kind of holding costs incurred by the investor. So it's a pretty cool program for a specific type of combo seller and buyer. If you can qualify for a mortgage, obviously if you want to keep the existing property, not relevant. And if you can qualify for a mortgage without having some kind of program like this, or without having to tap into equity, don't do it. Like, you don't need to spend that 2.4% if you don't need to. But for someone that doesn't have the cash on hand to buy a new property, and who wouldn't qualify without the exclusion of that debt to income, this is ideal for that borrower if you can go with a conventional loan. So as always, if you have any questions or comments, shoot them below, or you can call or text me on my cell phone. But thanks for tuning in this video. I'll be back on Friday to talk about the CPI report, which as of right now is looking very good, but I'll get into that more in depth on my video on Friday. But thanks for tuning into this one, and I will see you next time.